Holy Gospel according to Luke. Glory to you, O Lord. Then Jesus said to the disciples, "There was a rich man who had a manager, and charges were brought to him that this man was squandering his property. So he summoned him and said to him, 'What is this that I hear about you? Give me an accounting of your management, because you cannot be my manager any longer.' Then the manager said to himself, 'What will I do now that my master is taking the position away from me? I am not strong enough to dig, and I am too ashamed to beg. I have decided what to do so that when I'm dismissed as manager, people may welcome me into their homes.' So, summoning his master's debtors one by one, he asked the first, 'How much do you owe my master?' He answered, 100 jugs of olive oil.' He said to him, 'Take your bill, sit down quickly and make it 50. Then he asked another, 'And how much do you owe?' He replied, 100 containers of wheat.' He said to him, 'Take your bill and make it 80. And his master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the children of this age are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than are the children of light. And I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of dishonest wealth, so that when it is gone, they may welcome you into the eternal homes. Whoever is faithful in very little is faithful also in much, and whoever is dishonest in very little is dishonest also in much. If then you have not been faithful with dishonest wealth, who will entrust you to the true riches? And if you have not been faithful with what belongs to another, who will give you what is your own? No slave can serve two masters, for a slave will either hate the one and love the other, or be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. Please be seated. Well, as we just heard in that parable, the manager had been skimming for years now, and his boss found out. So what should he do? "I'm not strong enough to start digging holes," he said to himself, "and I'm too ashamed to beg." And so then, just as his boss was firing him, he hatched this plan in his mind. Right after getting fired, and before word got out that he had been fired, he quickly went to several of his boss's debtors, and he slashed their debts. To one he said, "You owe 100 containers of oil? Here's the IOU. Quick, scratch that number and put 50 instead." To another who owed 100 bushels of grain, he reduced the bill to 80. Not bad thinking, because now, after he had been fired, he could then call in some favors. He wouldn't have to beg, and he wouldn't have to dig ditches after all. And even the boss, who had been cheated for all those years and got cheated once more, admired his shrewdness. Well, Jesus turned this parable toward the disciples he was telling it to, and he turns it to us today, and he essentially said, "You know what? You can learn something from him." Now, I hope it's clear that Jesus is not endorsing lying and cheating. What he did say, however, was not always some very clear things, but he said things like this: "Make friends for yourselves by means of dishonest wealth, so that when it is gone, they may welcome you into their eternal homes." What does that mean? And what practical application does that have for our lives? Now, I think the lesson throughout this entire portion of the Gospel of Luke that we hear today is that money, possessions, and shrewdness, when used correctly as the tools they are, can be used for good. Yes, the manager was selfish and he lied. I wouldn't really want to call him a friend. I would keep him at arm's length. But imagine for a moment if he had used his shrewdness and his possessions and money and connections to love and serve other people and not just himself. Imagine that. Shrewdness, or street smarts, you might call it, is not a quality that is just reserved for people who habitually lie and cheat. People who strive to be honest can be shrewd too. Money and possessions are not inherently evil or bad or good things. They can be used for good. Project 3C, our capital campaign this year, aims to deepen our faith, to build community and positively affect people's lives. And the money that we hope to raise in this capital campaign is not to enrich ourselves, but to be used for good. We have goals to create a center for spiritual enrichment. We have goals to pay down our mortgage, to expand our young adult ministry, and to establish a separate nonprofit here within the walls of First Lutheran Church. And we believe that these are Spirit-inspired, Spirit-led, good things. We believe that this facility, our resources, our relationships, our location, our people, and yes, even our street smarts, our shrewdness, can all be put to good use for the reigndom of God right here. One of the things that I think we should always keep in mind as we hear Jesus' parables and lessons and we reflect on what he did in his life is that Jesus came among us to create a new kind of community. A community that is not based on who you're related to or who you know or how much money you've got or how little, or if you've been a straight arrow for as long as you can remember, or if you've lied and cheated and you're just now coming to your senses. Jesus came to make a community not based on that, but rather to establish a community that is shaped by God's purposes and led by the Spirit of Christ. A community of ordinary people from all walks of life who yearn for God and need God's mercy. Imagine a community like that. In fact, I don't think we have to imagine it for very long because we see this community right here among us, and especially when we share Holy Communion. We all come to the same meal, and the very same Christ feeds us. In the book of Galatians, the Apostle Paul described this new community by saying, "In Christ there is no longer Jew or Greek, slave or free, male or female, for all of you are one in Christ Jesus." In Christ Jesus, we are children of God through faith. We have been baptized into Christ, and we have clothed ourselves with Christ. It's all a gift. We are saved by grace through faith. This is not our own doing, so that we can go around and say how amazing we are and that we can boast, but it is all a gift from God. Now, just a quick survey of our society reveals, I believe, a sickness. We, and I use the word we because this is the water we're all swimming in, we are sick with a selfishness, deceit, violence, and a frightening craving to demonize people who are different than us or who disagree with us. And the good news is that it does not have to be this way. Mercifully, in Christ Jesus, God is showing us another way. And even more, in Christ crucified and risen, God shows us that sin, evil, and death have already been defeated. Love has already won. Light is stronger than darkness. Good is stronger than evil. Christ is risen. Alleluia, Christ is risen indeed. And so all that is left for